to. This afternoon you have another opportunity to do some art as part of our learning as historians. Today we are going to create portraits of Isambard Kingdom Brunel, who is the very significant figure in Victorian history that we are looking at more closely this week. So we are going to have a go at drawing Brunel. All you'll need is a piece of paper, a pencil, and if you have anything black, like a black piece of paper, that would be perfect. But if not, another piece of white paper would do the job too. I also have printed a photograph of Brunel, the photograph that we are going to base our portrait on. But if you don't have a printer, that's absolutely fine, because you can just go back through the video when you want to start your drawing and pause it if you need to copy his face. So, we are going to ignore his hat and his forehead, because that's what we are going to use our black piece of paper to make later. So I'm going to sketch the rough shape of his face to start off with. It's got quite a round face. It's quite an oval shape. Just roughly leave space for his ear, but I'm going to come back to that later. I'm not putting any kind of detail into his forehead at all, because that will be covered. So there's his rough face shape, and his hat's probably going to sit about here. So I'm going to focus on this space and not too much on above his hat line. There are some key things in this picture I want to point out and include, because they were things he was known for. As Mrs. Frapple told you earlier, Brunel was known for his hat, and the reason he was known for his hat is because he was just over 5 foot tall, which is really short, much shorter than me, and only a tiny bit taller than Mrs. Shaw. So he was quite small, and wearing a big top hat, he thought, gave him some extra height. He was also known for smoking a cigar. Cigar smoking was quite common for men during the Victorian era, and Brunel was one of the men that liked to smoke a cigar. And his facial hair is a style known as mutton chops, and that was quite fashionable during the Victorian time too. So I'm going to particularly make sure I'm focusing on those 3 things: his hat, his cigar, and his mutton chops. Now, I'm going to start with his nose. Whenever I draw people, I always start with the nose, because I think it is kind of a central point of a face. And his kind of curves rounds off. This photograph is kind of in side profile. It's like you're looking at him on an angle. So on the position we're looking at him from, we've kind of got a side view of his nose. We're going to include his nostril and then the little bit of shadow. Now you can see I'm sort of sketching my lines in. I'm not doing just simple lines. I'm going back over my lines and shading and sketching. And in a way, that kind of means you have to be less precise and perfect. Now, this exercise isn't for us to create the most realistic portrait of Brunel that's ever been done anyway. It's just for us to have a bit of fun, doing something creative, and think about what a man such as Brunel in the Victorian era might have looked like. So I've sketched in the shape of his brow bone, which you can just see underneath his hat here. I'm going to do the same on his other side. That kind of follows on from his nose, and he's got quite big, dark eyebrows. So I'm going to start building those up by drawing lines on top of lines. Eyebrows kind of get smaller towards the end, and they're bigger and bushier at the front. Brunel's eyebrows look quite bushy, so I'm going to replicate that on the other side. And actually in this picture it kind of comes off the side of his profile, but I haven't quite got the exact same shape. So his eyebrow will stop just before I get to the edge of the page. And I'm going to build that up on the other side. It's got a few crazy ones just to give him a bit of character. Now I am going to put in his eye. Now because of all the shadow it's quite hard to see the exact shape of his eye. He looks quite serious and thoughtful. I'm going to put in his eyelid. He's got quite a narrow eye, and then he's got some sort of a pocket of skin here. Now whatever he's looking at in this picture is this way. He's looking in this direction. You can show that by where you put the pupil of his eye. So if he was looking out straight, you'd put it more in the middle, and if he was looking to the right, you'd put it on the right side. He's looking up towards the left. So I'm going to draw his pupil around here. I'm going to put in his other eye now, and I'm going to speed myself up so you don't have to watch the whole slow-mo video of me drawing his other eye. So I finished his other eye. I've got his pupil. This pupil on his left eye is pointing in the same direction, or as much as I could. I think it's probably a slightly teeny weeny bit wonky. But I've tried to show the direction that he's looking in, which is out this way. I'm going to move on to a different part of his face now, and I'm actually going to draw the cigar. The cigar is coming out of his mouth, and I'm going to look on this picture. It covers kind of yay much of his chin. It goes this far in, this is its depth. Because I want to show the mouth around this cigar, not just the cigar randomly sticking out of his mouth. So I'm doing the cigar first, so I can draw the mouth around it. The cigars are kind of cylinder shape, even though it's not hugely clear in that photo. This is the rough shape it would be. So I'm going to come back and add some detail to that now, because the cigar now tells us where I'm going to position his mouth. So his top lip's going to be coming over the cigar. Now he's kind of got a little bow, a dip in his top lip, curving round. And I've made his lip a bit thicker than it is in the photo, but I don't think I mind. And then his bottom lip is quite square, it's kind of rectangular shape, isn't it? So I'm going to sketch that in, and there's quite a lot of shadow underneath, which I'm going to start sketching in but finish off in a bit. And kind of just slightly adjust the positioning of his mouth. There's the shadow from under his nose. Okay, so I've got his main facial features in now. I've got his mouth with a cigar coming out of it. I've got his nose, eyes and eyebrows. I'm gonna add a bit more detail to his ear, which is mostly covered by his hair, so I'm just gonna sketch the main shape of it in roughly here. And then I'm going to start building on his facial hair because I think that will be really fun. Now, I'm not just going to get my pencil and scribble. I'm going to show that his hair would have been built up by lots of individual hairs. It's not just one patch of one big long hair all over his face. It's lots of little hairs on top of each other, and it's probably going to be thicker over this side than the other, and I'm actually going to keep doing that until I've built up the effect and the texture of hair as realistically as I can. So I am going to make Brunel his hat now to give him a bit of extra height. And I'm going to make it the height that it would have been. So to finish him off, I've cut round his shape and I'm going to stick his hat on for him. Some tape at the front and some tape on the back as well. And there he is! Little Brunel and his big old hat.